Welcome, everyone, to another rousing hug with the Midwest Manufacturing HubSpot user group. Our guest star today is Alex Desnoyers. Alex, it's so great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes. As if you don't know Alex, he is our CC. So Alex is a strategic channel consultant in HubSpot's Solutions Partners program. He works closely with his partners to build scalable solutions to help HubSpot's customers grow better. He's passionate about data hygiene. We'll have to hear more about that, process design, and user experience. He's a lifelong New Englander, currently nestled in the heart of Boston. Thank you, sir. And attendee of Inbound, of course.
Good to
So
be back.
give us the deets and what you know. And for folks that are in the chat or attending, we do have a chat going along. We're going to be capturing your questions for Alex in the chat, but also we're asking for the fave fall activity and what city you're currently in, so that we can keep up and get to know everybody. Because part of this is all about networking and getting to know other fellow HubSpotters. So as we do that, lodge those questions. And hey, Alex, take it away.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to join you guys. Opportunity to share one of my favorite topics, which is talking all about inbound. Personally, I was able to attend in person this year, which was, to be honest, a little bit anxiety inducing to begin with. I think we've all just had a lot of things change in our world over the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
definitely good to kind of get back to some of that in-person mode. But as always, there's just so much to talk about at Inbound. I think even just a number of weeks later, a month later, I'm still thinking about and unpacking a lot of the content that was consumed there, and even just a lot of the conversations I was having with folks like Jen, who I was able to meet in person, which was great. So just a lot to talk about, and appreciate the opportunity to have a forum like this to be able to do that. Awesome. So really just kind of keep it light with the agenda. Three main themes here. We want to make sure we kind of go through like what were the big takeaways, the big announcements, obviously a lot of product focused stuff. What's the latest and greatest with HubSpot as a platform? But then also really want to get into just some of the learnings that I was able to get out of the conference. You know, some of the sessions and speakers, people from all across the industry, all walks of life, had really interesting things to say. And then just some takeaways, right? Some tips and tricks to take with you as you leave today's session, and hopefully help you as you continue to be users of HubSpot and help you grow your business. So excited to dig into all the above. So I think starting with just the biggest announcements and news, product updates first. Um, I'll start by just saying this isn't every single detail that was announced today, because there's too much for the amount of time we have here today. So we're going to go through some of like what I would call like the headliners, the big take home items that we want to focus on and that we're focused on while we're at Inbound. First category is commerce. Just honestly, like in my personal opinion, and I can say as someone who works at HubSpot, this is going to be a big area of focus for us moving forward. As some of our product folks have said recently, a phrase that really stuck with me, it's still top of the first inning as far as commerce is concerned in HubSpot's product and platform. But it's going to be a really big focus as we think about this age of the disconnected customer and how we can be more connected with our customers and provide them the opportunities to have the full customer experience, including how they buy and buying the way that they prefer. So one of the things that was catching a lot of headlines was this idea of payment schedules, which is now in development. I think I can speak for myself that there are a lot of different purchases that I've made in my life where I've appreciated that level of flexibility, especially for a big impactful considered purchase in the B2B world, right? Where you want to be able to make it easy for that customer to buy, right? Like reducing that friction in your flywheel is so important. So from the commerce side of things, making our tools flexible so you can flex them the way they need to fit your business and reach your audience where they are, I think is incredibly important. So payment schedules felt like sort of a symbolic piece of that motion and that ideology that we're trying to bring to the commerce play here.
Now, one of the nice things that Alex is doing on each of the slides, he's telling us which hubs that everything's going to work with. Not currently available with HubSpot payments. Is this how does this work then, Alex?
Yeah, so this is one of the tiered approaches that we see with some of our product development, where the first thing we're enabling is if you're just a user of like just let's just say the Sales Hub, right? Maybe you're not necessarily processing payments through HubSpot payments yet, but you're using our quotes tool, for example. Step one is what you can start to do now with this is be able to split out in the quoting process what the payment schedule will be and sort of create those payment schedules. What's coming very soon then is that full integrated experience where you're quoting someone, you're creating a custom payment schedule, and then they can also process those payments through HubSpot payments. So everything is integrated inside of HubSpot for you. So I would say another way of putting this is we're building the infrastructure now. And then the next step for us is to have the fully integrated experience where you can handle the whole aspect of that process. Create the quote, create the schedule, send it to them, and then they can also process the payments directly through HubSpot.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Another sort of aspect of this that was also highlighted at Inbound is just okay, great. You maybe you don't need quotes in every aspect of your life, or in a way that we talk a lot about at HubSpot, for example, is we also want to give like a touchless option, right, where they don't necessarily have to talk to a human to purchase something, especially something that's maybe predictable SKU or low hanging fruit. You can now embed the payment process, the ability to transact with your business through HubSpot payments in a lot of different places, including HubSpot Forms. I've been at HubSpot for almost 5 years, and I can't count how many times I've had this conversation with someone about if I really wish I could just have them at that point of conversion make the transaction happen so that they don't have to pick up the phone, exchange emails with someone. So the more we see businesses evolving and understanding what their customers needs about, let the channel make some choices like how they want to buy from you. Now obviously some business still requires humans today, but this is about giving you options, right? Like if you want to make it so that someone can just go to your website, buy a resource that you've developed or a recording or some sort of content, whatever it may be, like if they don't need to talk to a human, we want to be able to do everything they need, complete their own journey on their own time in their own schedule.
Even for events, this would be great too. For if you have a paid event, you're doing a conference series or something. I get that a lot from our clients that they're looking to do something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, great call out, right? So a paid registration for something like that, purchasing content, signing up for a future event. It's great to be able to do that.
Mhm.
The other aspect of commerce that we're starting to talk a lot about as well is like, I think, we'd be foolish to not also think about how the front office meets the back office, right? Like we want to get people to the point of purchase and complete sales and bring revenue into the business, but the process from a business perspective doesn't end once they've given you their credit card information, right? Like we need to think about like how are we actually reconciling the full CPQ process, right? To understand, there are whole business functions in terms of accounts receivable and reconciliation and invoicing and all those things that happen beyond the realm of the salesperson's focus, right? They're focused on that
Mhm.
point of sale, but so much important stuff happens that is critical to the business. And so a big part of our focus as well is integrated systems, being able to work nicely with tools like QuickBooks and be able to sync your data so that the powerful data that you're gathering in HubSpot is also informing what's happening in QuickBooks and vice versa, right? There's a lot that we can do when we have integrated, clean, hygienic data, right?
Right.
Awesome. So much more to come with commerce, but I think if I had to just pick a few, those are some that are sort of emblematic of where we're developing the product and what's going on there. Next up, as I mentioned, a topic that's near and dear to my heart, this data management and data quality features, right? So I think there was a big focus on the crisis of disconnection, and a big part of that is disconnected data, right? We've all experienced that world before where you have siloed data, it's out there somewhere, but it's a clunky customer experience if you are finding yourself saying, I've already told them this, why are they asking me that question again, right? Or you get a marketing email where your name, hey Dave, and Dave is all caps, right? Like that just looks clunky and clearly like a robot is doing it and there's no human touch behind it. Like why would I have any loyalty to a brand like that. So we're really trying to develop a lot of tools to help you manage your data and have data be an asset rather than a liability. A couple of those things, even just like starting from square one, is, again, I've been at HubSpot long enough to find that, the platform is getting complex, right? And really sort of starting from square one and understanding your data model is incredibly important. Whether or not you're on a low level subscription of HubSpot, or even the free version of HubSpot, before you go crazy and just start throwing data in there, it's important to understand like how data relates to each other. So if nothing else, this is just almost like a visual planning tool to help you understand, before I make big decisions about how I want to mirror my business inside of my platform, I want to understand what the architecture is in here that allows me to do things to take advantage of the platform. So I love this as sort of like a starting point where it's like, let's take a step here because we're all moving 1,000 miles an hour. Let's stop and understand like what is our structure and what can we do to make sure that our data is working for us.
And I just think, as an aside, Alex, I think what's so interesting is that the deeper the evolution that HubSpot gets, the more important, it's so much more important to have a good understanding of your data and having systematic tools that play well together. And that's just from a brutal state of efficiency and utility, how really smart companies are moving that way, and away from that Frankenstein model of shiny stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a great point that like even small businesses that might be thinking, well, I just have like Marketing Hub Starter. I just use this to send a couple emails a month. Like, without proper care or understanding, any HubSpot instance can get out of control. And it's about making plans ahead of time, because it's a lot harder to fix things after they're broken. So it's really just helpful for you to understand, like, before we get wrapped up in the shiny objects, as you said, Trick V, like, let's make sure we understand like what really is going on here, because this is ideally going to be our home for a long time.
Well, and things can blow up, especially the longer that you have your system, right? Because you're doing surveys, or you're doing, maybe the data you were collecting 5 years ago is not the same as what you're collecting now, right? So I'm working with a client right now that has over 300 custom fields at the contact level. So, just trying to clean that up and everything, it's kind of a painful process, but, I think it's something worth going through for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jen. I mean, even just like, in the screenshot we have here, there are 255 contact properties in this portal that we use as the example. That's a lot, and it's very easy to get out of hand. Yeah. On that similar vein, I think one of the things that got a lot of excitement and headlines here, building off of the core product, the core standard objects, if you will, inside of the HubSpot portal. If you log into any portal from free all the way up to enterprise, they're going to have the standard objects, the basic CRM infrastructure that we're all used to. But one of the big things from Inbound last year was talking a lot about this excitement of custom objects, right? We can really finally customize the system to fit the structure that you need for your unique business needs, right? But there's always a but, right? It was a little bit difficult to get from A to B because the phrase API starts to get thrown around, and suddenly it's like, I don't think I can even do this, right? Well, where we are now is, now that we can visualize and understand our data model, now I want to amend it. I want to expand on it. I want to add to it with custom objects. And now you can do that with a couple clicks of the button. The custom object builder built right into the tool itself. If you're an enterprise customer, you can start building immediately. And for people like myself who are not developers, it is a no-code solution. You don't need to know how to use the APIs or any of that fancy stuff. You can just start building the structure that you need to start housing the data to run your business. So that's a big one for our enterprise customers.
And the nice part, some of the uses you can do for the custom objects is, especially in the manufacturing area, shipments, when are you shipping things to your clients? You can have pipelines for your custom objects. So you can watch them through a similar process to like deals or tickets or something like that. Sometimes people do it with like if in real estate, it's used for houses that people have seen, or, things like that you want to keep track of, kind of like you want to keep track of deals and tickets for contacts and companies. You could do the same with custom objects for things that may not be necessarily revenue generating, but you still want to keep track of.
I think that's a great call, Jen. And I think, yeah, I've seen in the wild live a few of these examples already, and whether it's using it to manage your fulfillment process from all the way from the factory floor, shipping directly to the customer, managing that from an inventory management perspective, as you mentioned. There's a lot of use cases, whether it's real estate or otherwise, but I think just the realm of possibilities is so much wider now. And what this represents to me is that we're also just eradicating the barrier to entry so that you don't have to feel like I need a developer in order to get this off the ground.
Absolutely.
If you're familiar with the UI of HubSpot, you should be able to get this sorted.
It's going to be great.
Love that. So another one that I think is sort of like the big, like a new home base, if you will, if what your job function or your priority demands is, operations and understanding the importance of quality data. The Data Quality Command Center is your new home base, your new favorite page in HubSpot. So for our folks that are considering or are already on Operations Hub Professional or above, this is going to be a huge asset for you. And I chose this because it's sort of, again, the home base for even more features that we also announced that are built on top of it. But I like to think of it like this, right? As we alluded to before, very quickly can your portal get full of old data and old properties and duplicate records and all kinds of stuff. And to be honest, it might even take you until it's too late to find out that that's already happening, right? You might get a reply from one of your customers that said, "Oh, you got all this weird data here," or "I've already told you about that before." So what we're trying to build is a motion that makes it easy for you to identify what these potential issues are before or while they're starting to happen. And then on top of that, make recommendations about what you can do about it, right? Because it's nice that if someone says, "Hey, Dave, you got a bunch of dirty data in here," and you say, "Well, great, I don't have enough time to do anything about it. So thanks for letting me know." But now we also have things built into this that allow you to start to automate some of those data formatting issues. Like make sure we capitalize the first letter of first name every time. Let's make sure we format our phone numbers so our sales reps who are out in the field, using the CRM from their phone actually have accurate information to reach out to their leads in a timely manner. There's a lot of different combinations and permutations of things we can do from here, but the idea is that there's a centralized place where we're identifying issues, but then we're also giving you the tools to do something about it, actively cleaning your data so it becomes more of an asset rather than a liability.
Excellent. Idohan says she couldn't find a hallelujah emoji, so she's a biggie.
We love that. I have very much the same feeling. Whether it's a newer portal or a portal that's been in existence for years, data quality matters to everyone, and I'm glad we're coming around the bend here to make it a focus in the product for us to make your lives easier. Awesome. Another area that's near and dear to me is CRM customization, and I think just for the sake of this conversation, we naturally do tend to think about the Sales Hub as the extension of the CRM, but there are things here that I think will help anyone, whether or not they have a paid Sales Hub subscription. But really, again, the core fundamentals of the HubSpot CRM, where your objects are, where your leads are, where your deals are. There's some really cool things that we can do there now to customize your CRM to fit your business. First on the door here is I think we've all had that experience where you're looking at a piece of software and there's just too much going on that doesn't really matter to you. And you're constantly scrolling and filtering and trying to figure out where is that one piece of data that matters to me, right? I may be an employee of a company that has a lot of different departments and job functions, and therefore we store a lot of different data, and a lot of it really doesn't matter to me. So why am I seeing it? The ability to customize the record experience to maximize the efficiency of your day to day, or if you're a manager or you manage a team, your team's day to day, there's no little thing too small to not make that experience better. And so a big part of this is literally 1/3 of the record experience is now getting that ability to customize and configure to your needs. I always joke with our colleagues that sometimes we think that it's the big shiny announcements, the new hubs, the custom objects of the world that people are most excited about. And it's usually stuff like this. It's stuff that's going to save you clicks, stuff that's going to prevent you from pulling your hair out or growing gray hairs because you can't find what you need to do your job. So the ability to customize and configure the experience, and if you are, on like a professional version of the product, to be able to customize that by team as well. So again, different people need different things. You want a dynamic system that can fit all those needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be huge because there's some of our clients, they don't want to see things like playbooks that they don't have access to, or things like that maybe they want to see tickets first because they're in customer service. I mean, it's going to be great to be able to tailor that by team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put. Cool. Another one, especially for folks that are living in the world of deals and sales and opportunities, is being able to configure the board cards that you see. So if we think about the Kanban format of the deal pipeline, right? So not just the unfiltered object view, but really we're thinking about progressing our opportunities through the pipeline, through those different deal stages. If you are on sales professional or above and you have access to multiple pipelines, it might be because you sell to different audiences, or you sell different products or different services. You might have wholly different sales processes that are different by pipeline. This allows you to change what you see at a glance on those deal cards by pipeline, right? So I might, if I'm working in the North American sales division, I might have different data that I want to be able to see and analyze and help inform my day to day than if I was, my colleagues that are working in Latin America, right? Or if I'm working on this division of our business and we sell this type of product, it's different than that division and that product. So again, you want HubSpot to be able to meet you where you are and meet you with the data that you need when you need it. And this is just another one of those things to try to make that as accessible and customizable as possible. Now, I hesitate to say best for last because there's more slides after this, but I think in terms of the customization thing that we're talking about here, I think this is another one of those ones where it was initially announced and I thought, oh, that sounds cool. I can say in reality, I've had multiple customers that I've talked to in the last 2 weeks where we've started to deploy this. Technically, it's in public beta, but you can get access in your portal. It's already started solving a bunch of pain points, right? I was thinking through a fairly complex use case yesterday with a client, and they were building out a custom object to help them manage subsidiaries or child entities, if you will. So before you knew it, we had a company record with a bunch of contacts and multiple custom objects associated to it, and all these deals, and there was just records everywhere, and they were kind of scratching their heads thinking about what's the best way to do some reporting on this. So like at a glance, I can see, what is the level of activity across all of my subsidiaries? And their answer was right there in front of us. By having this overview tab, it's going to kind of bring some organization to the chaos that can happen when you have a really busy portal like that. So, the good news is there's a lot of activity, right? Like there are deals going left and right, and there's a lot of moving parts, which is good. That means the business is moving, but it can be hard to filter through all that noise. And this is just one more mechanism that allows you to see that at a glance, right? I want to be able to just see how many deals do we have in flight? How many contacts do we have in play? Are any of them decision makers? And just having that at a glance so you don't have to keep digging and scratching and clawing and trying to find that information is just hopefully going to save people some time and save them some gray hairs. Awesome. Now, can't forget about our friend, the Marketing Hub. I think, honestly, one of the biggest announcements was attached to the Marketing Hub here. So definitely excited to dig into that today as well. Concept of customer journey analytics. This is going to be, I would say, one of the flagship pieces of functionality inside the Marketing Hub Enterprise. I think if I had a nickel for every time I had a conversation with a customer that was candidly a little frustrated by our ability to create funnel reports in HubSpot. It's great that we have all these life cycle stages that we're tracking, but sometimes people skip a stage, and we want to be able to really see those conversion metrics in a meaningful way. And to HubSpot's credit, our product team is amazing. They listened to that feedback and they said, all right, we're going to basically rebuild this entire thing and give you more that you also weren't necessarily asking for. And in comes this concept of customer journey analytics. I think especially in this day and age, in this digital environment where people are purchasing through different channels, they're interacting with your business in different ways, they're coming to your website, they're coming back to your website, they're attending webinars, they're subscribing to emails. There's a ton of touch points, especially in a lot of B2B situations that have long-term considered sales cycles. And I think we as marketers oftentimes have pretty firm assumptions about what we think the buyer's journey really is. And the reality is that not everyone is actually taking that journey. So I think if I could distill this down into one thing, it would be we're giving you reporting tools that will allow you to test your assumptions about what the buyer's journey actually is in reality. So, a term that I wasn't even super familiar with that's going to be part of this, like a Sankey chart, the visualization of literally who is progressing through the buyer's journey. And most importantly, where are people dropping off and who is skipping steps? What are the parts of the journey that are actually having the biggest impact? So I think in a lot of ways, this is going to shed some light that has been long overdue for those folks that spend a lot of time reporting and trying to justify their spends as marketers or whatever it may be. It's going to be a lot of exciting stuff. And again, this is step one. I think this is going to see a lot of evolution over the next 6, 12, 18 months as the product team really sort of superpowers the data that you're able to play with, what you're able to do with it. But as of today, this is in beta, and anyone with Marketing Hub Enterprise can get access. I think it's exciting stuff for marketers.
That is very exciting stuff. I wish it was in the pro version though, but I know they always start everything out with enterprise. So
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, I don't claim to speak on behalf of our product team, but I will give them credit that, when we do hear a certain amount of feedback, there is a strong track record of having functionality trickle down from the enterprise tiers into the pro and even to the starter and free sometimes. I think one of the things that was sort of burying the lead was you can literally make a free website on HubSpot now. CMS is free. So, our team is always dedicated to making sure that we have a differentiated and meaningful product at all the different layers for whatever your business may need. And yeah, it's the top of the first inning. So excited to see what this type of functionality looks like over the next year.
yeah, definitely.
Love that. One more on the Marketing Hub front that I thought was also really interesting. The ability, again, sort of to really leverage your data dynamically. If you are using HubSpot's product library, right? Maybe you have traditionally been using it to create line items for your quotes. And so that's why you have products inside of HubSpot. But if you are looking at cross-sell and upsell campaigns, remarketing campaigns that are focused on the products that people have expressed interest in, now we can do things like that in a much easier way. And again, one of the phrases I love to use, because this applies to me personally, these are no code solutions where you don't have to be able to custom build from scratch an email template that's going to show exactly what you want. This is based on the data that HubSpot is passively collecting for you as people are interacting with your tools, and allowing you to then build an email that will dynamically populate based on who you're sending it to. So whether it's recommending the most popular items or related items or items in a certain price range, the ability to quickly deploy marketing emails that look good and perform well, so you can earn those open rates and have real targeted interactions, I think is really great that's now so much easier to do and a lot less of a manual effort.
Especially like this time of year, when you're trying to do holiday promotions and things like that. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. And we're going to see a lot of interesting deals around, I think Black Friday is coming early this year. And so a lot of people are going to be seeing promotional emails in their inbox. And if you are a business that needs to be able to do that, you can do it much more effectively and efficiently now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, like I said, that was certainly not an exhaustive list of every little thing that was announced for the product, but those were the big things that I was taking home and chewing on over the last few weeks. But INBOUND's not just about HubSpot shouting about how great we are. It's also a lot about what we feel and what we're seeing in the industry and giving a platform for other people to also share their expertise. So wanted to just take an opportunity to talk through some of the cool stuff that we learned through, HubSpotters as well as other industry experts sharing their knowledge with us. It's always so great to really continuously learn from people that have been doing this for longer than I have. And, there are a lot of great people there, some household names, some people I'd never heard of that I learned some interesting things from. So always excited to learn more from the experts. Before we dive in, again, just like the quick theme that I wanted to kind of reiterate that HubSpot was talking a lot about was just this idea of the crisis of disconnection, and that ideally we're moving into this world of the age of the connected customer, better ways to be connected to your customers. And I think the exciting part about it is that we're at a moment of opportunity where we get to build that new growth playbook, what that looks like for you and your business, so that you can provide consistent value, bring context to your conversations, and give customers the choice that they need to continue to be your customers. So that is sort of the high level theme that a lot of those takeaways were sort of focused around, but ultimately getting into these other perspectives was exciting for me as well. First, I'll say, I promise not all HubSpot people here, but starting with our chief product officer, given that we just were talking a lot about product, couldn't have distilled it any better, right? The importance of having a source of truth in your data is full stop, maybe the most important thing right now. Having the data that you need to run your business effectively and having it be true and accurate and clean is bottom line, table stakes at this point. So I think, having that be front and center with her conversation, that it's not just about shiny toys and new features. It's about having your data be an asset and not a liability, and having that source of truth be so important. That really resonated with me. It continues to resonate with me. If I had a nickel for every time I interacted with our business and I thought, they don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm getting this app. I don't know why I'm getting this email. I already told them that I wasn't, or whatever it may be. Having that source of truth so that every arm of your business, all the parts of the flywheel, are operating with the same data is incredibly, incredibly important. Our folks over at Atlassian, I think I would be not talking out of turn to say, are people that we really admire at HubSpot. They do a lot of great things with their business model and their products, but I thought this was a really great sort of distillation of, using some HubSpotty language, but some stuff that is really important here about the reason that they have a successful flywheel, the three most important parts of that. So number one, right, removing friction, so important. I keep using examples from my personal life about, the times I've interacted with our business and it was painful for me, right? Where you keep getting passed off to a new person, or the fact that I even had to pick up the phone, or I keep having to tell them the same information about me. So anywhere where we can remove friction in the process is a massive force applier, right? It's going to help your flywheel spin faster. Number two is this concept of empowering champions, whether we want to call it evangelism or delight or whatever it may be. I think if I could distill that down as well, I think it's this idea that the customer is not the end of the conversation. It's not the output, right? Once you get revenue through the door, it's just the beginning, right? Especially in this age where there are macroeconomic factors going on there and people are having a tough time. It's the ability to retain and delight your existing customers is incredibly important to your business. We all have seen some version of those statistics that say, it's X times more expensive to acquire new customers than it is to keep existing customers. So the ability to not have them just be customers, but champions of your brand, of your product, of your service, so that they become accelerant to your marketing and sales efforts as well, is just that pays dividends. And I think we're really feeling that acutely right now. I had a customer of mine say this to me recently. Says customer retention is the new sales. In a lot of places where we're seeing difficulty maybe with tighter budgets, or having a hard time with having our lead acquisition strategies bear as much fruit as we would like. What can we do to find growth potential within our existing customer base is really important. And the third one is one that really resonates with me as well, is be patient to be greedy. So it's all well and good to say there's an opportunity within our customer base, and maybe we can cross sell and upsell and find revenue within that group, that cohort, or that audience. But we need to be patient there. We need to earn that, right? I think, again, from personal experience, the number of times that I have purchased a product from a business or a service, and within 48 hours, I'm getting a half dozen marketing emails being like, "Are you sure you don't want to buy more? Don't you want to buy another one?" It's like, okay, give me a second to breathe and enjoy what was up until now a good customer experience.
Right.
When they are ready, they will tell you, and just be a little bit patient in order to extract more from them. It's about thinking about your customers in the long term, not in the short term, and about what can I give before I take, right? So that really resonated with me. Another one that really sort of blew me away, Neil Patel, he's always got something interesting to say about the different trends in the market, and whether it's social media focused, search engine related, advertising. He and his team have been exceptional for a long time. Their track record is great. So I will say, not only was his talk very hilarious and informative, but I came up with some incredibly, you can tell by, I sort of broke one of my cardinal rules by putting too much text on the slide, but he gave you the answers. So I loved this because algorithms is a buzzword right now. Everyone's talking about algorithms. And his point was that, look, algorithms aren't the enemy. They aren't the issue. It's transparency. What we don't know is what goes into these algorithms and how they work. So we're left guessing oftentimes. Why is my ad not reaching my target audience? Why is no one engaging with our content? Why isn't this leading to leads and opportunities? And so they rolled up their sleeves, did a bunch of testing, and found out what worked well on all these different platforms. And there's some similarities, but some crucial differences, I think, especially when we think about a given business where our audience isn't all spending time at the same watering holes, right? Some businesses are way more tied into LinkedIn than they are Facebook, or vice versa. Some businesses are thinking, why would I ever be anywhere near TikTok or YouTube? But others are seeing incredible revenue potential from both of those places. So every business is different. They're all playing in different areas, or their audience lives at different watering holes. But what I loved about this was that it was an incredibly comprehensive approach that said, you know, rather than stomping our feet and blaming algorithms as the enemy, we went out to try to figure out who they really are and how they can serve us. So I thought that was great. I came out of that with a few very specific insights that I loved.
I was
And this is a fun one.
I was in this presentation sitting in the audience.
Yeah.
I learned more in 30 minutes in this presentation than I think I learned the whole first aid inbound. It was crazy. It was amazingly good information.
It's I watched it online and it was super cool. And I want to address this for manufacturers. We tend to discount TikTok in particular because you think that it's not something, or what you do isn't all that sexy, or that we're working with huge organizations, and the buyer for the people that make our choices aren't going to be on TikTok, but your employees are, and everybody's in a hiring crunch. And some of the best messaging that you can give right now is visual, and manufacturers kind of have a unique visual opportunity a lot of times. Those lines and those stampings and the cool stuff that we do is really, really neat. And so I actually have, she's not on the hug this time, but a friend of mine that's a frequent attendee of our hugs, they just started a fantastic TikTok channel where they're posting, all of the aerospace-y kind of things that they do, and the heat treating that goes into these things, or how I think one of their things is like a huge magnetic electromagnet thing, and so you pop it down and pull things up, and the how they build that thing is just crazy. So don't discount a tool just because you're not familiar with it. And the fact is, you're probably trying to reach people that you're trying to hire as well. So don't forget about that either.
That's a great point, Dave. Thanks for bringing some practical context to that. And I think, it just, again, the fearlessness behind this approach of like, look, let's just test and measure, right? There's so much about what we do in marketing and sales and really anything with parts of our business where, if we're just resting on our laurels and doing things the way we've always done, we're almost certainly going to miss
Mhm.
out. So having the courage to go out and test and measure and figure out what works, and some things aren't going to work, but the rewards are out there. You have to look for them.
Yeah.
Love that. Right. So a couple just sort of tips and tricks and hacks that we wanted to highlight here. Obviously, this isn't going to be, an exhaustive list for everyone, but just things that were really kind of still buzzing with me that I've been thinking a lot about. I think are going to be important moving forward. So again, in terms of just like this concept of the importance of a connected customer, of connected platforms and connected data. I think there's some big themes that can apply pretty universally to everyone here. But one thing that we've been saying a lot internally at HubSpot is be first to the party with first party data. There is a lot of, I think, necessary, not insignificant, but understandable anxiety out there when we hear things from Google's changing their algorithms or their policies when it comes to third party data and what we can do with targeting. And the industry is often shifting around us, and it feels like we don't have any control, and we as marketers have to completely change how we do things. And I think one of the best things to focus on is control the controllables, right? First party data is going to be your best friend. And really leaning into the power of data is going to help you in the marketing focus, in the sales focus, and the customer success focus. There's a lot of value there. Diversifying distribution, waging war on multiple fronts is important. I think like having a diversity, not having all your eggs in one basket is really important. Even just to Dave's prior point, like consider what we may have an initial assumption about is like that's not a place where we can play or should be. You might be wrong. Like it's worth diversifying your channels of distribution and communication for sure. Talked to a lot of people about email open rates. It's a tricky time for that. I think we've had multiple existential crises over the last 15, 20 years when it comes to email marketing, and it feels like we're in another one, whether it's Apple's privacy changes. So it's a technological thing that's sort of, skewing up our data a bit there. But I think also, again, speaking from personal experience, and it sounds like some of the people in the chat similarly felt the same way, my inbox is bloated. I have a lot of emails that I'm getting from a lot of businesses, and my default state as someone when I'm overwhelmed is to ignore it all. So I think it's important to understand that, like, once again, I don't think email is dead, but we really need to think about, are we earning our open rates? Are we actually targeting the right people, using data to make informed decisions on that, and actually offering something of value, not just sending emails because we feel like we're supposed to, but do the emails actually mean something, and they're offering value? I I think bringing context to the conversation like that applies everywhere and to every type of conversation which you're having. The full part of the buyer's journey or the buyer's process, as Dan mentioned in the chat, like context is key. They've probably talked to someone in your business before. It'd be helpful to know what that conversation was or where they are in their process with us. And anywhere we can, make buying a breeze. I mean, I think easier said than done, right? Is what many people's reaction will be there. There are going to be long sales processes. It's considered sale. It's a high value, high ticket thing. But wherever we can, we want to reduce friction and make it easier for people to buy. Let the hand raisers raise their hand and get called on. Like let's make that easy for them. And give channel choice of voice, right? Like we need to understand that people will want to communicate with us through different channels. We need to, customers want different things. They want to make their choices. Let's let them make those choices. So those are the big things that are really top of mind for me. If I could possibly distill this down from a HubSpot product functionality, like that's great, Alex. This is all really nice in theory and full of buzzwords, but some practical tips and advice. Like I said, I couldn't even have mentioned every single product update today if I wanted to, because there are just so many. The product team is absolutely buzzing right now. I feel like every day I get new emails about new things that the product team is shipping. So don't wait for me to tell you. You can get product updates directly inside of your HubSpot portal anytime. So if you click that button in the top right corner, there's a live stream every day of new things that you can start to take advantage of and improve the value that you're getting out of your HubSpot subscription. And on top of that too, it's not just things that are already out. You can actually opt into these beta features, these getting in on the ground floor before the rest of the market, before most customers even have access to the stuff. So depending on what subscriptions you have, what you're eligible for, you can opt into these, what we call public betas, which means they're open to the public. We're talking about them. They're not fully live yet, but they're very stable. And we want to help you get in there and take advantage of what our team has worked really hard on. So know that what you first purchased when you purchased HubSpot is not a static product. It is changing every day. And our whole goal is to make it better for you, to help you better run your business and take advantage of it.
Now, if people want to find where this is at in their portals, if you click up on your face or your company name in the upper right corner and go down to product updates, you can see all of the product updates, all of the betas, and everything that you potentially could have access to.
Love that. Yeah. And like I said, I personally check it almost multiple times a day at this point, because there's so much going on in there. Awesome.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know
it's new since inbound, so.
That's right.
That makes sense.
There was even a funny period there where this tool, the beta opt-in tool, was in beta. So there was a lot of sort of Russian nesting dolls of the beta. Anyway,
I love it.
More of a joke for me. Great. And I think, again, where the recording and access to this material will be made available to you all, but HubSpot is chock full of resources. So, if you are more interested in sort of like reading some more long form content about what these product updates are, hubspot.com/new. We have a new page that's better value that talks a lot more about all of the themes that we've talked about today. You can find, whether it's in the Inbound platform, if you attended Inbound, on YouTube, across our socials, hearing from our leaders on what they're talking about and how they're developing the product in the company. So there's never a shortage of content to enjoy from HubSpot, and hopefully along with the content you're receiving today, you can continue to get value out of that. And thank you all for giving me a soapbox to stand on today.
Now, Alex, I know that if you could go back one slide, wasn't it Steph's presentation that had like almost all of the product updates in it?
Yes, absolutely.
She leads the product charge over there at HubSpot. So that was a really good one. Dharmesh also had a really good one. If you're not a part of Connect.com, that's HubSpot's kind of answer to, like a HubSpot social network. So it's kind of interesting to go in there and poke around and, create a user for yourself and things like that. So I think those two might be really good for all the people here.
Yeah, great call out. I sometimes have to remember to take off my orange colored glasses. I get to hear from these people all the time, but I agree. I thought Dharmesh's presentation was great. Steph's was great as well, given that she also very gracefully was handling some technical issues while standing on a stage in front of thousands of people. But yeah, it's always great to hear from our leaders in that respect, and grateful to be able to share our thoughts with you guys today.
Cool. Alex, we did have a question if we could share the deck today. I'm assuming, can we just make a clickable PDF available for folks?
Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to do that.
Well, we'll follow that up along with the recording of today's event, because we'll have that available, and I'll send it out to everybody that was attending today, as well as our registrants, because there were probably only 3 people that didn't show, which is amazing.
I've already had one ask me for it, so.
Yeah. So that's super cool. So thanks, everybody. We do have open time for Alex through the top of the hour here. So if you have specific questions that you want to know about, now's your chance. You can either chat them here, or you can unmute and ask away.
Absolutely. Yeah, and as we like to say as well internally, you can ask me almost anything. As Jen and Dave and Tribute to the gang here all know, I'm always willing to offer my opinion on something.
For sure.
I have a quick question, Alex. I saw an email about HubSpot payments, legacy quotes. So they're retiring the basic whatever the next one is, all the standard quote things. And we have to reproduce those with the new templates that they've got. What happens if you've got clients who don't know that or can't do that? Will their quotes just...
Good question. The quote templates will eventually stop working, but any quote that has already been published and is in the hands of the prospect, if you will, should still work. What ultimately is going to happen is those original templates that we created are going to be sunset over the next few weeks and months. So the transition for most customers will be starting to use one of the updated templates moving forward, but anything that's already in flight and fully published should not have any issues with it.
Cool.
Good question.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And any other questions about HubSpot product stuff, specifically about inbound itself, beta stuff you'd like to see on the roadmap? Any questions? Fair game as far as HubSpot's concerned.
I have kind of a general question, and we've been working. I work a lot with fractional CMOs that might have 3 or 4 different clients. And one of the things that we're trying to come up with as a solution is maybe to template out a build of HubSpot, like of the standard CRM, so that it has the things that are available for them. I know that's probably a little bit deeper conversation, but that's doable, right? I mean, you can set up like a build, and I think there's an external tool that you need to use in order to create that. Do you know offhand what that external tool is? Because I've been trying to do my research.
Yeah, great question. And serendipitously enough, I was talking about this specific tool this morning.
Oh,
So
sweet.
it's very top of mind. But there is a tool in the app marketplace
Okay.
called Portal Replicator.
Ah,
And essentially, it's exactly as you described, Dave, where it says, all right, I have, template portal, if you will, in which we have custom properties,
right.
some workflows, things that we've like already built out that we want to be able to quickly
Right. Yeah.
apply to another portal.
Mhm.
It does exactly that.
Cool. So we could theoretically set up a perfect portal for manufacturing and then use that with our clients when we sign them up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dig it. That's cool.
One thing I'll say as well is there is one specific piece of HubSpot that is also, with a click of a button, very easy to copy between portals, and that is files and templates and themes from within the design manager.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you have built a website theme template module that you want to be able to share with a client, share with another business that is a subsidiary that has its own portal, that doesn't even require a third party app. You can go in and click copy to another portal and send that asset over.
Oh, slick.
I did custom quote it. I have to say.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, look, I've put a bunch of time and development resources into building it here, but I would also like it over there. Fortunately, you don't have to build that from scratch as well.
Cool. Okay.
Another thing that I get a lot, Alex, and I had actually literally just slacked you this information, but is there any on the Sales Hub in the Deals portal, is there any roadmap or any insight into how people should put in their amounts? Because, there's project value, there's recurring revenue that you might get monthly or at certain times. And, the scheduled payments kind of takes care of part of that. But even for reporting and all of that kind of thing, as you're looking at your pipeline, is there anything in the roadmap that you know of that, could potentially address that issue, like a toggle switch for project amount versus monthly amount or something like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in Sales Hub Enterprise, there is a version of that which we call like the recurring revenue tracking tool, which does, to be candid, I still have a little bit of a manual element to it in terms of I have to make sure I have certain fields populated on a deal record. But the benefit of that is that it gives you its own reporting dashboard that allows you to see, hey, if I mark this as a recurring deal, to your point, Jen, it's like, I know this is we kind of treat this as a monthly amount, but I want to recognize that this is going to be that monthly amount in perpetuity or until a cancellation date or a renewal date or a downgrade date. So it does allow you to track recurring revenue in that way. I will say as well, I've also seen folks on Sales Pro basically create their own version of this where, if you have access to the calculated properties that allows you to do just basic math functions inside of a property, you can
Yep.
say,
Mhm.
I want to turn MRR into ARR. Well, fortunately, it's just times 12,
Mhm.
or I want to be able to automatically apply a VAR discount, a commission discount that gets added to our whatever. So
Yep.
there's some clever ways you can kind of hack that together with some of those custom property solutions. But I think it's definitely still an area of focus for our product team to say, we want to make this even better so that we can be able to differentiate different types of revenue and what that
Sure.
really means to your forecasting model.
Yep, yep. And in the manufacturing arena, I've seen kind of related to that. I've seen portals where you can actually use a sales pipeline to track, like co-op and MDF for, various, like for your channel and things like that. So, or different pipelines for different kinds of channels. That was one that we used in one of my past lives. So.
Yeah, it's a great call out. Yeah, there's now more than ever is the ability to customize HubSpot to meet the nature of your business model.
Definitely.
So there's some really cool stuff happening out there.
Amazing. Well, Alex, thank you for the time. We're at the top of the hour, and I know you've got a lot of stuff to get to. So thanks again. And gosh, we are so thankful to have you as our CC. And it's always a delight to see and get a chance to hang out with you. So thanks again. And for everybody else, hang on, and be sure to keep your eye on the Manufacturing Midwest Hug, because we have 2 more events coming up this year. We have our buddy Kyle, and he's going to be talking about some inbound sales tips and tools. He's going to be digging deep. If if you've been into the academy at all, Kyle very well. And then we also have Devin, who's going to be talking about email deliverability, and that's going to be in December. So thanks all. Have a fantastic day. And Alex, again, thanks for everything.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.